Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? When you start to watch a video, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's a Facebook Reel or Instagram, TikTok, whatever happens to be, you make a decision within seconds. Do I keep watching this or do I switch to something else? And if you're a YouTube content creator, you know this really, really well because there are metrics that YouTube shares with you, and you can see that your viewership has this precipitous decline within the first 30 seconds. And after that, there's kind of the slow attrition rate, but nothing like the first 30 seconds. And congratulations, if you're still watching this video now, you're one of my core audience. Hooray. Oh, we just lost another one. There another one goes. But that's the idea. Now, there's a real battlefield for your attention within that first 30 seconds because people know this. Now, some people will blame this on the younger generations and say, you know what, the attention spans now, they're not what they used to be. And maybe the younger generations will look at Gen X and boomers and say, well, you don't understand. It's different now. I'm calling BS on all this, and I'll tell you why. If you're a Gen Xer like me, you remember when you were really little, there were only a few stations on. You had to watch for a little while. Maybe you had to watch something you didn't like, or you just went outside and played. Then, somewhere around the 80s, for most of us, this magical thing happened, and cable came to our town. And we got this box with 36 channels, and it usually said Gerald on it with a J, 2 R's. And the wire would connect to this other part that connected to the TV. And as teenagers, we drove our parents crazy because we'd go click, 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 click through all the channels in rapid succession and clicking the lever and clicking all the buttons and what have. And finally, we'd throw our hands up and say, there's nothing on. And we would do that within seconds. So this has been going on for a long time, kids. This is not something got invented later on. We've been doing this for a very long time. However, now attention spans are kind of measured in milliseconds. So if you're a content creator, well, you get all this advice from YouTube gurus, and they'll tell you you've got to have a strong hook. Not only do you have to have a great thumbnail and a great title to make them click, but you got to have the strong hook, to bring people in and tell them what the video is going to be about and promise them all this kind of stuff and give them, all this kind of stuff to grab your attention, And, well, you know what? The thing is, I've watched videos with arguably very, very strong hooks. Perfect. And stopped watching. I've watched other videos where the hook was kind of so-so, or there really wasn't a hook at all, and I kept watching. Because in my opinion, this whole thing is multi-layered. It's not just that. It's not one size fits all. So what gets you to continue watching within that first 30 seconds to a minute? And I'd love to hear your comments and answers, below when you're finished with this video. Comment on it. Tell me what keeps you watching after that first critical period of time. But I believe it's much more layered. It's not just the hook. For me, sometimes it's the content itself. And yes, arguably, a lot of that is the hook. They tell you what it's going to be about. But then it's like, well, how is this content being presented? What's the depth of this content? And sometimes I find that it's this very surface level, kind of entertainment based and sort of flashy and sensationalized. And other times, if you're like me, you like it when it's much more in depth. And it's going to be very interesting. I love Veritasium because it goes in depth, and it also gives you kind of a story of how they found this stuff out, which, for me is fascinating. It's not for everybody. For some people, they think that's way too much. And I actually like the videos that go into a lot more depth, and beyond that, not just the sensational stuff. But sometimes that will keep me watching, or I was like, it's not for me. But for me, the biggest thing, the thing I think is the most powerful, especially on YouTube, much more than the short form content, is, do I like the person? Are they doing it for me? Is their personality something that I enjoy? Do they look like they're being authentic? And they're not putting on like a mask or a facade, or you can kind of tell a lot of times if people just aren't really being themselves, or they're trying too hard, or they're putting on this salesman kind of face or pitch, or they're trying to make the video really dramatic and really glossy and hey, and they sound like a radio announcer and all that other kind of BS. It's usually very easy to spot. For me, that doesn't work. I'm looking for would I spend time with this person? Would we be friends? Do I enjoy the way they talk? Is this somebody that maybe we wouldn't be friends, but I enjoy their presentation style? There's something about them that's engaging, and it doesn't have to be super engaging, but it's something that I enjoy the way they present stuff, and I like them as a person. There's something about them that I can get behind. That to me is far more powerful because in a certain sense, this is a little bit of a relationship, a lot more than the short form content, but you're making a decision to sit down and watch somebody talk about something. And because of that, maybe it's a semi one-way, a relationship, although you can comment and make it a two-way relationship, but it's a little bit different. And it's slightly more intimate than a lot of other, methods of watching media. And because of that, I really want to enjoy the person. I remember I've given, my chemistry teacher a story more than once, but, in high school, I got the wrong chemistry teacher, and she had the personality of a table and should have been in a lab. The other guy that a lot of other students got, they loved him. He was really engaging and great and taught the same exact stuff, but he was somebody that had this wonderful personality, and people loved it, and they loved the way he presented stuff. My advanced biology teacher, Dale Combs, was fantastic. I loved that class. I would take it over again. Philosophy teacher, Mary Mitchell, same thing. She was fantastic. Ray Rapuano, my 10th grade English teacher of all things. I don't like English all that much. Phenomenal. And so I really enjoyed the class, and he got me right in there, and I learned some things despite myself. Isaac Asimov, one of my favorite nonfiction writers. I love and collect his nonfiction essays, usually science essays, but he wrote a tremendous amount of material and essays about a whole bunch of subjects. He was a real polymath. And there are some subjects that he wrote about that I don't care about. I think he was a big fan of, I think it was Rodgers and Hammerstein musicals. But I'll read the stuff that I don't care about because I like him. Just like a lot of times I'll watch a YouTube channel of somebody I like when they're talking about a subject that I don't care about as much. And, I'll watch it because I like them. And, sometimes what happens with, Asimov or one of those channels is I'll learn something new despite myself, And to me, isn't that what this is all about? Is learning stuff sometimes despite yourself. So that's what keeps me watching, even in that first crucial few seconds. If it's a new channel to me, it's do I like this person, or are they being authentic? And there are some creators that I'll tell you what, they are cold and prickly, and I like them because they're being authentically them. They can be a little bit abrasive, but I dig them. There are presenters that kind of vacillate back and forth between being really intense. This one, YouTube content creator, and her channel, her name is Alexa. She talks about having a YouTube channel. I've really grown to like her because she goes from being really intense about some subjects to relaxing and kind of being more, and that both personalities are her. If you watch her long enough, you get that. But I like that, this back and forth authenticity where she can be vulnerable and she can be really, really passionate about a subject, which, arguably is a great subject, when she goes, because it's not a one-faceted channel by any means. But they're people that I've learned to like and enjoy watching, even if sometimes, the video isn't quite, for me. Sometimes I'll flip something on in the car and listen to a video. It's just like spending a little bit of time with a friend. And it's like, I don't even really care about this, or I've watched the video already. But something about it, is familiar, is just kind of cool, and you feel that connection. I don't know if that sounds too esoteric or too weird. I'd love to hear what you think about this subject because it's fascinating to me. Why do we keep watching in that first little bit? And it's not just because I'm a YouTube content creator. It's because the entire subject is really kind of interesting, especially in today's society where attention spans are measured in milliseconds. What brings you in? Is it the hook? Is it the person? Is it something else? Tell me about it.